Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about origin and expansion of planning. Okay. So here planning means it is one type of the method or tool of utilizing the resources, the available resources in your country to achieve any kind of goals which are set by the government. Especially, so these important goals may be set by the policy makers in the country. Okay, so here planning is a method of achieving the faster economic progress. So without planning we cannot achieve our goals. Okay, even we cannot achieve the economic progress also. Okay, so these plannings are very different in different countries. Okay, so these may be implemented by different countries at different times and at different levels also. So basically in India, so we have the three levels of the government. So that is national level, state level, and third one is the local level. Okay, so it means each and every level we have to implement the planning process which was set by the central government. Okay, so we may consider these important plannings into the two types, regional planning and national planning. Okay, so coming to the subject, so the first one is regional planning. So it was the regional level, it means at the specific part only. Okay, so the planning was used as a part of the development policy by any country for the first time. Okay, so whenever they are involving the planning, so first of all they have to introduce the important goals and objectives in any part of the country only for the first time. Okay, so the example country which was started the regional planning is United States. Okay, so the first regional planning, so after Tennessee Valley Authority was set up in 1916. Okay, so for a large scale rehabilitation in southeastern United Nations covering parts of the seven states. Only for the seven states it was started to provide the rehabilitation program. Okay, so with the primary aim, just they have the set some important primary goals. So those are just food control and soil conservation and providing the electricity. For these important things only they implemented regional planning. Okay, so in this country, so not only the providing the food control or soil conservation, electricity, but this regional plan also involved in many related activities such as industrial development and wildlife conservation, town planning, construction of the road and construction of the railways, encouraging sound agriculture practices. It means the development was going in the agriculture also, so they started to encouraging some important practices in agriculture sector and malaria control in the defined regions. Some regions were suffering from the malaria diseases. Okay, so that's why they have to control the disease in the some specific regions. Okay, it means in United States of America, so they started the regional planning. The first time it was started in United States of America. Okay, so those important regional plannings will cover these important point of views. Okay, so by implementing the regional planning, it means a total only it covered seven states only, especially with the primary aim of the important goals and objectives. But it never covered the 50 states of America. Okay, because it is the regional planning, it means it only covers the important and specific regions of a country only. Okay, so but USA experienced regional planning became such a success was granted in the United States of America, especially whenever it was involved in the regional planning, it started to realizing the well defined goals that it emerged as a role model. Okay, so not only define the emerging goals, but it has to object of the inspiration for many countries. Okay, so by seeing the United States of America, because it was implemented the regional planning, so whenever each and every country in the world they are seeing the America, so the success of the regional planning in the United States of America, so it became and it emerged as a role model for many countries in the world. Okay, so for example, India also one of the important inspiration character by seeing the United States of America. So by seeing the regional planning in United States, so we also inspired by seeing those successes. Okay, so here the Damodar Valley Corporation in India, so we also implemented the type of the important policies, programs, and regional planning also. So in the same way, in United States of America also, they started to controlling and important aims and objectives. To fulfill those objectives, they started the Tennessee Valley Authority and regional planning. In the same way, in India also, we adopted the Damodar Valley Corporation in 1948. Okay, in the same way, in Ghana, so they adopted the Volta River Project in 1966. Okay, in the same way, in each and every country was inspired by seeing the United States of America regional planning. So here, regional planning is very important to focus on the specific important areas or states. In the same way, regional planning is always has well defined goals. So overall central, it is another level, but whenever comes to the regional planning, just we have to focus, and we have the responsibility, and we have the 100% focus on a particular specific areas or states. Okay, and second planning is a national planning. Okay, so the planning at the national level, it means we have the three levels: national level, state level, and local level, right? So here also the national planning means the overall planning at the national level or country's level. So especially this official experiment was done in the Russia. Okay, the Bolshevik revolution of Russia in 1917. So that is in the Soviet Union. Okay, so here dissatisfied with the pace of the revolution, especially industrial revolutions. Okay, so it means they dissatisfied with the industrialization. So it was in 1928, Joseph Stalin, so he started and he announced its policy of a central planning. So because of the dissatisfaction with the industrialization, so the Joseph Stalin, he introduced the policy of a central planning. Central planning is nothing but the national planning for the entire Soviet Union. Okay. Okay, so here the collectivization of agriculture and industrialization. Okay, both were mingled in one country. So there were the radical new policy initiatives announced by the Stalin. Okay, so besides economic planning, they started to collectivization of agriculture and industrialization, especially 1928 year. Okay, so the Soviet Union went for its first 5 year. So whenever it started to clearing about the national planning, and they announced the national planning or central planning at the national level, it means overall Soviet Union. So whenever comes to the regional planning, the United States of America, only it covered 7 states of America. Okay, so whenever comes to the national planning of the Soviet Union, here they covered all the parts of the Soviet Union. Okay, so here they started 5 year planning, so from the 1928 to 1933. So this is the first 5 year plan period. So that's why here the famous Soviet slogan was a great leap forward, was initiated for rapid industrialization through the introduction of the economic level at the national level. Okay, basically they introduced the national planning level. Okay, it means at the national level they started national planning, especially for rapid industrialization through the introduction of the economic planning. So just they wanted to get the industrialized country through the economic planning at the national level. Overall Soviet Union, they wanted to be a planned economy with industrialization. Okay. So here the planning in the Soviet Union can be called as the ghost plan. Okay, so it has a direct and indirect bearings. It means direct or indirect changes on all those countries which opted for the economic planning. Okay, so whether it is a state or a capitalist or a mixed economies, but the direct and indirect changes fell on the remaining countries. Okay. So example of the influencer was India. So India was have a great and direct influencer of the Soviet planning on its planning process, especially at the national level. Okay. So here the Soviet model of the economic planning was spread to the East European countries, because East European countries are nearer to the Soviet Union. So that's why first of all, whatever the policies implemented in Soviet Union, it easily spread to the East European countries, especially after the Second World War. So after the Second World War, and found its purest form of such planning in People's Republic of China. Okay, so it's a purest form, especially it was started in the Soviet Union, of course, but the purest form of the national planning, such planning, is in the People's Republic of China. It means in China. So especially in the 1949. So during 1940s, the concept of national planning was borrowed by the France from the Soviet Union. Okay, so here 1928, the national planning was started in the Soviet Union. In the same way, its purest form we can see in the China in 1949. But in 1940s onwards, the concept of national planning was borrowed by the France. Okay. So, this type of the national planning was adopted by the capitalistic economy as well as by the non-centralized political system, that is democratic system also. They started adopting this important national planning in their countries. Okay, so France started economic planning at the national level after announcing itself as a mixed economy. Okay, it means mixed economy, so it means capitalistic economy and socialistic economy, both are mixing into one thing, so that is known as a mixed economy. In India also we are following the mixed economy. So after announcing the mixed economy of the France also, it adopted the national planning, okay, at the national level. Okay.